We are finally seeing progress between China and the US trade deal. Tariffs are being lifted and the stock market is responding unbelievably. New record highs on the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones today, and I made some pretty sweet cash in the process. I'm going to go over the trades that I made and my thoughts on whether or not I think the stock market is going to continue from here coming up. Yes, the stock market is at an all-time high yet again this week. It's an unbelievable week so far in the stock market. I'm going to go over some of the trades that I made today and as well as where I think it's going from here. But first, I want to welcome you to this channel. Hi, my name is Brad and welcome to Own the Chaos. The world of business and finance is a crazy and chaotic world, and I've made it my mission to help you own it. So if you want to see more content such as this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I go over a lot of stock related stuff as well as entrepreneurial type topics. So if you want to see more such as that, give me a subscribe and watch out for future videos. So China today decided that they were going to take off some of the tariffs that it had imposed on the US, in stages. And so the stock market is responding very well, but there's a couple of conditions when it comes to these stages that China is going to lift some of these tariffs off on. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and see if there's going to be some wiggle room from the Trump administration and how that's going to impact the markets moving forward. So today I made $925, which included 4 trades today on Apple, BYND, Baba, and Tesla. Tesla being the big one today. Boy, I did not expect a move like that out of Tesla, but it sure was a sweet ride. And I'll go and explain to you why I saw what I did in these particular stocks here. So first, I'd like to invite you over to WeTradeHQ.com. This is a free platform that I have built with my partner Jake that allows you to become a better trader. It's absolutely free to join. All kinds of great tools and resources for you to be a part of. It's a great community as well. Everybody's celebrating each other's success and really just truly wants to see everybody win. But as you can see here, the WeTradeHQ community has been voting bullish on Tesla, and there's a lot of good reasons why. You can see over here that is the sentiment over in the WeTradeHQ community is a buy. And so looking here on Tesla on the 4-hour chart, it was pretty clear that the 330 area was a pretty good resistance. And if it broke through that, we could eventually see new highs. And that is the approach that I took on Tesla today. So I took an entry in at 330 and then took half of my position out, locking in some shares around 335, then keeping just a small amount after about 337 to see, okay, where is this thing gonna go? I came back out to the 5-minute chart and looked at it here and said, you know what? It looks like 337 could be a potential resistance. So I'll just leave a few more shares in there to see if it can break through. And sure enough, it did. And then took the rest of my profit at 339. That landed me $835 on the day on that trade alone. Was a fantastic move on Tesla. And I could have stopped there, but there was a couple of other opportunities that I saw throughout the day that I wanted to try to capitalize on. And so then I took a look at Baba. I've been watching Baba here for quite some time. After earnings report, it had kind of a terrible response. Pretty decent sell-off on Baba here, and noticed that there was a pretty tough resistance at 184. And then with the news on the tariff news with China and the US, Baba being an Asian company was going to react very positively to this news. But then once it broke through 184, it continued to go. And so my sweet spot here was 184. Took a small position because I wasn't quite sure just how much this was going to break out. And then sure enough, it did. And the profit on this trade was $198. Not quite as big as the Tesla trade, of course, but nevertheless, was a fantastic trade, and loved to see that one. Worked out perfectly just as I had planned. And it's always nice to see that play out quite well. The next trade is Apple, and Apple was one that I always look towards whenever I see the market doing well. Whenever I see a sharp movement in the market overall, whether up or down, is where I'm going to really kind of look towards Apple to make some sort of move. I think the argument could be made, well, why don't you just trade SPY, the S&P 500 ETF? And I could very well do that as well. But I do like Apple and trading it as it reacts to the markets most of the time in conjunction with how well the market is doing or not doing. And this stock just keeps going up. When I'm looking at Apple, I told folks within my morning mentorship, I said, hey, listen, if this cracks above 258, it's going to make some really nice moves. I think we experience all-time highs for Apple. And I think that, as of the recording of this video, It's at 259.65. I think that we see 260 today. I might sound a little bit crazy, but I think we see 260. And in fact, I think that we see Apple go to 300 before the end of the year. So I took a position on Apple. I think I might end up adding to this if it dips down to the 255. So I have this 255 support line marked here. So if it comes down to 255 and starts to bounce off of 255, I may actually add to this. This is going to be a little bit of a longer term swing trade for me. Haven't sold out of this one yet. I'm up only about $100 or so on Apple, so it's nothing crazy, but nevertheless, you know, fantastic trade. I think this is going to be a good long one that I'm going to actually stick into for a little while and see where this one might end up. Lastly, the only red trade that I had for the day was BYND. I know that might sound a little crazy. It really just comes down to me getting shook out. I got shook out of BYND, took a short at high 78 dollar range as I was seeing it starting to break to new lows, and I told my folks as well, you know, as myself, I said, hey, listen, this is breaking to new lows. I think that we see this continue to come down a little bit further. I've been out of BYND for a few days now on that big trade that I told you guys about earlier, if you've been following this channel for some time. And I said, well, it looks like it's starting to break down to new lows, and I think that we see this come down even further. And so that's why I took the short trade, but then it started to move back up to 79. And if it got back up over 80, I didn't want to be in it on the short side. So I decided to just cut my losses, only $108 loss. And that's really the name of the game, guys. You know, sticking to your plan, not deviating from that plan, staying disciplined is really what's going to give you that success that we experienced, just as I did today. You know, I'm sure there's potential for me to have made a lot more money on these trades as well. BYND, I'm sure, will continue to come down. It is what it is. But at the same time, if I kept worrying about all the money that I could have made and letting greed seep in, lots of times it leads to disaster. You end up taking losses because you start overthinking things. And so you just take your money and run on these types of plays. And that's what I did. Stayed disciplined, stuck to my plan, and worked out for a great day today. Now, as far as the stock market is concerned, will we continue to experience new highs? And so I think that on the surface, my short-term answer is yes. I still think that we're due for a correction, and I'll go into why I think that the stock market will correct at some point, and it might not be because of the reasons that a lot of people are thinking about it. I like to give a little bit different approach on why I think the stock market will correct at some point. Lots of people like to give their own takes on those sorts of things, but I'll give you my fresh new take on that in a later video that I have working on right now. But I think in the short term that we will continue to see new highs as long as the U.S. plays ball with China. Now I'm going to show you a article here by Yahoo Finance that says a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Commerce said Thursday that the leaders of China and the United States have carefully resolved their core concerns in the past 2 weeks and have carried out serious constructive discussion, agreeing to cancel the tariff increase in stages with the progress of the agreement, according to a translation of a report from China's state-run Global Times. Cancellation of the Trump administration's punitive tariffs on Chinese imports has been a key condition Beijing has demanded for reaching an eventual deal. The development added to hopes that the recent U.S.-China discussions would produce a meaningful reduction in the tariffs feared to cut corporate profits and consumers' wallets. Now, I think this is the big key here. If China is willing to meet the U.S. somewhere in the middle, will the U.S. also then alleviate and meet some of their demands as well? It seems as if an olive branch is being extended, and these talks are going very carefully and very methodically. It's great to see that positive news come out today. Whether or not these talks will continue to go in a positive direction remains to be seen. We've seen this story before, right? Where the talks look like they're going to go in a positive way, and then everybody kind of backs off yet again. So I will say this, as long as these talks stay positive, we will continue to see higher highs in the stock market. And yet again, if this does not go as planned, we'll start to see another pullback. I think ultimately though, what will kick off a stock market correction will be overvalued IPOs. And I'll get into that in a later video, but I don't think that this US-China trade talk situations is ultimately what's going to spark a stock market correction. I think that we're seeing somewhat of a resemblance of the dot-com bubble with these crazy IPOs that have been coming out, and I think that might be the start of a correction, or I don't want to even call it a recession. I think it's just going to be a market correction. I don't think we're going to go down as far as we did in 2008, but I see something like the dot-com bubble, a resemblance here, and so we'll see what happens. But again, that's going to be another topic for another video. If you guys are interested, I mentioned the mentorship that I have earlier in the video that I have, where I go live with folks from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time via video chat, and then I'm with them throughout the entire day through a Discord chat room. The link's down in the description below. I highly encourage you to go check that out if you're looking to learn how to trade in the stock market and have profitable trades just as I did today. So you want to go check that out? Again, the link's in the description. I'd love to have you there. And that's going to do it for me, guys. If you like this video, I certainly would appreciate a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content such as this. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much. As always, I will see you all before the bell, and B Smith is out. Uber is in a heap of trouble. It's down over 40% from its initial price offering, and I think that they're going to go lower. I'm going to give you my reasons as to why,